Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a pretty surprising one. We are here very early with a Twitch updated complete guide. We've been busting out the Twitch and the Neela early in the season this time instead of late in the season. But before we really get into it, don't forget to check out Twitch's basic guide for his skills, that are order tips and tricks and combos that I'll put up in the cards above right now for your easy reference. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the items, runes, and spells. So, for the items, we want to start off with the Berserker Greaves, which is not the common start for ADCs, but for Twitch it's a very common start because honestly with Twitch's really weak early game, you just want to get that additional attack speed just to get your poison stacks onto the enemy faster, which is the only way you're going to win trades in the early game. So Berserker's Greaves, very very important. And then, as I mentioned the last time I made a Twitch guide, I personally like to go for Terminus. Now, I know everybody is going for like Runans as a first item, but Runans, like Callista, also, people are also going for Runans first on Callista. Like, Runans is not a good first item. It's a really, really horrible first item. Why? It gives you almost no stats. It gives you like 15 on hit physical damage. That's pretty negligible. 20 AD, that is honestly very little. Like if you take a look at how much a longsword gives you, a longsword gives you 12 AD, and that's 500 gold. 20 AD is like 2 longswords, which is like 1000 gold. That gives you more AD than Runan's Hurricane, right? Which costs like what, 3000 gold or so? That yeah, 3000 gold, right? And then, of course, the most important part of Runans about why it's so expensive, it's of course because you can attack multiple people at the same time. But if you have no damage in the first place, what's the point of attacking multiple people at the same time? To tickle like 3 people at the same time, there's no point. So you want to go for Terminus. First item, which is going to give you AD attack speed, 35 on hit magic damage, which is way more than the 15 on hit physical damage. And then you also get the stacking resistances and the stacking penetrations, which is going to come in handy for the rest of the game. And then, of course, since it's so important to spread the poison on Twitch, then you can go for the Runans as a second item. And then you can go for Bork as a third item, of course, for the on-hit current health damage, as well as just more attack speed, AD, and physical vamp. And at this point, this is your 3 core items completed. And the last 2 items, you can kind of build whatever you want. You can go into crit. Like, I've seen people go into, like, Bloodthirster and IE, or, like, Collector, like, as last 2 items kind of thing. So here, what I have is Wit's End, just for a little bit of defensive stats, since you get the magic resist from it, and it also synergizes with your on-hit build. And then I have Bloodthirster here because you get a lot of AD from this and even more physical vamp, just really good as the last item. But you can of course go for other defensive options as well if you prefer. So for the runes, obviously Lethal Temple for the attack speed and attack range. We have Brutal, just for the auto attack damage, because you auto attack a ton with the on-hit build. Not brutal, Giant Slayer to deal with the tanks, and of course Alacrity for the attack speed, and Bone Plating just for the defensive capabilities. Now for the spells, in this match I go for Flash together with Cleanse, because Cleanse, I need it just for all the CC, but if you don't need it, you can of course go for Ghost as well. Ghost is a really good spell on Twitch, just to help him in those mid and late game team fights. But with all that out the way, let's jump into the gameplay. Okay, so let's take a look at our gameplay, but before we do so, of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Of course, I will be sure to address them. So first things first, right? Let's talk about Twitch for a minute. Right, so if you guys saw my tier list video and the 5-minute portion on the ADCs, you will have seen that I think Twitch is the worst ADC out of everybody. I even rank champions like Neela above him, and well, I just gotta throw Twitch under the bus for a little bit, right? I think that the main reason why Twitch is bad is because Twitch is basically pure damage, right? His W, damage, his passive is damage, his E is damage, his ult gives you extra range and extra AD, which is basically just damage, and his Q is a little bit of utility with invisibility, but doesn't help anybody but yourself. So basically what this means is that Twitch is a champion that fully relies on damage. Something like MF, right? MF is just pure damage, maybe a touch of utility with the slow on her E, but basically it's all damage. So unlike MF, who's in a very, very strong position now, I think she's probably the 3rd best ADC right now, I think Twitch is the worst. So why is that the case? Well, basically it's because his numbers are too low, right? If you're a champion that's pure damage, to be good, your damage has to be good, or slash the meta has to be really really good for you, right? Like supports have to be really good, like your supports, and like enemies in the meta, in the mid lane, jungle, or top lane have to be those that you can deal with easily. Like that's how you become good, aside from having good damage, right? And um basically, aside from having like not very good damage, Twitch is also very squishy. So it's like a double whammy, in the sense that he not only doesn't deal enough damage, but he also takes too much damage, right? So really, what I'm trying to say here is that honestly, there isn't really a very good reason to pick Twitch unless you love playing the champion. Now, I do think Twitch is really fun to play with, and the only kind of really unique thing he brings with him is long-term invisibility. I mean, Vayne and Kai'Sa both have invisibility as well, but they have 1 second invisibility, whereas Twitch can have like 10 seconds of invisibility. That's probably the only thing that's unique to Twitch. Other than that, you want range, you have champions like Caitlyn and Jinx. Invisibility, you have of course Kai'Sa and Vayne. Poison is not a ADC kind of thing, so no one really has that, but that's not, I don't think that's the reason why people play Twitch, right? It's probably mainly for the invisibility, right? So that's probably the only unique thing about Twitch. But I would say that if you want to play like a hyper carry kind of ADC, there's a lot of better options than Twitch, right? But if you do want to play Twitch, you gotta play Twitch with an enchanter support like Lulu, Yuumi, or Milio, right? It has to be, right? Twitch actually does decent when you play with these champions, because they at least can buff up his damage and protect him, which covers up a lot of his weaknesses, which is his lack of damage and his complete lack of protection for himself. Right? He has no real peel tools for himself or anything like that. He's just really just a damage champion, right? So what you can do is what you saw there, which is a very quick trade. You saw I went in W, auto, E, and just run out. You can see I chunked Seraphine to like about a third of her health, which is the only thing you can really do. And it's even kind of dangerous to do that, right? Because if you get caught by CC or anything like that, then you are gonna end up losing the trade because of your squishiness and your lack of damage. So having to play Twitch is a very very thin tightrope that you have to walk, right? You have to get in good trades, at the same time you have to not die under tower. You have to kind of try to minimize your weak early game by taking as little damage as you can while trying to deal a little bit of damage, so you're not putting zero pressure on the enemy, and at the same time trying to farm your minions. But when you get to the mid and late game, like when you get to 3 items onwards, you do actually become strong, in the sense that you have hit your item power spikes and you will start to do damage. But the main challenge is kind of reaching that point. And as I mentioned, if you want to play a hyper carry, a 3 item hyper carry, there's Jinx, there's Zeri, there's Kai'Sa. There's so many better options to hyper carry with than Twitch. So even comparatively, Twitch is just not that good, right? But okay, enough of ragging on Twitch, right? Let's pretend that we actually do want to play Twitch, and let's just talk about how we can do so, right? Enough about saying how bad he is. I think I've kind of made my point already about how bad Twitch is. And honestly, I'm not even the best Twitch player myself, right? I still think I have a long ways to go in terms of playing around his invisibility, because I normally just use it at the start of the fight and then go in with it. But one of the best ways to use his invisibility is to use it inside of the fight. That means you kind of stop auto attacking, you invis to reposition to a better spot, and then you start fighting again, which is something that I don't personally do very well at all. So I'm trying to work on getting better at Twitch as well. But honestly, with Twitch being the in the spot of the meta he is for like half a year now, honestly there's no real incentive to really get better at Twitch, because he's kind of just bad, right? Like you don't want to spend time and effort playing a champion that's bad, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get good at Twitch anytime soon. Right, so anyways, we've actually done an amazing job in the early game. We're 0-0 and 0, which doesn't seem very good, but when you consider that we're playing against Jhin, who's very strong in the early game, Seraphine as well, pretty strong in the early game, and they have a lot of CC and could have easily caught us out and killed us, the fact that we're 0-0 and 0 against this lane, I think is actually already an achievement. Because the fact we haven't died is actually really good. So here we trade Dragon for Herald, and in my opinion, this is one of the best things that could happen for Twitch, in a sense that honestly, Twitch is a champion that doesn't really want to fight in the early game dragon fights, because, as I said, at this stage of the game, you don't really have any items yet, and you're not really, very strong. Like here, I get disrupted by Seraphine, but I was actually watching the fight in the mid lane, didn't really notice for a second or two, and then I have to channel recall again. But it's alright. So yeah, having no contest and an objective is actually really good for Twitch. The only case where this is not the case is where basically you go in and you clean up and you get like 2-3 free kills, and obviously which ADC doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want a couple free kills? So here I spot Seraphine very overextended. So this is one of the best things Twitch can do, which is, you see here, I basically just run her down. She charms me with the ultimate. I just cleanse out and then I get the kill onto her. So this is probably the one thing Twitch can do that other ADCs cannot because of his invisibility, or his long-term invisibility. You can stealth up to the tower, and then you can just launch your W and open up when you're really close to them. Of course, when you do this, you want to be very careful that you do more damage than the enemy, because if you walk close to them and then you start launching all your abilities on them and then they out damage you instead, it's going to be a really embarrassing death for you because you started the fight and then they killed you instead. So you gotta make sure you do more damage than them, even if they have the summon spells and everything. So here Warwick ults, but I actually complete the recall before his ult connects, and he instead ends up ulting the Lulu, but I think Lulu is just fine. Doesn't even have to use ult, heal, or flash. Lulu just eats the ult, walks back to safety, and that is it. So yeah, so here we're trying to do the same trick again. We come in through stealth. We start attacking the Warwick and the Jhin, but in this case we just want a short trade, right? We don't necessarily need to get a kill, like just getting a short trade works as well. So here we get a little bit of a chunk onto Jhin, and you know, we're happy with that. So yeah, Twitch is just really good at coming in through stealth and then just opening up and then getting kills on people, especially when they're overextended hitting your tower. That's the easiest way Twitch gets kills, and whenever you play against the Twitch, that's the one thing you gotta take note of. You can't be hitting the tower if you don't know where Twitch is, right? Even if Twitch comes off of a death, right? Not even a recall. If he dies, he comes back to lane and you don't see him and you just keep hitting the tower blind, he could be coming in from behind you and then you could find yourself having nowhere to run. You know, in weird situations like that. So here Jhin again makes that same mistake. So here you can see I open up with my ulti, I'm just blasting him, and then I hold E for the last burst, and then I take out the Jhin. Exactly the same way Seraphine died, right? At least in this case, Jhin actually gets the tower, right? So Jhin trades his life for a tower. I guess it's a relatively even trade because you do get a lot of gold from the tower, so that's kind of alright in a sense. Not as bad as Seraphine. So here, speaking of Seraphine, we try to actually catch her out a little bit, but she's not falling for the same trick twice. So this time she's actually able to run away, and we just go back to farming the minions. So this is a pretty rare Twitch spot where we actually have 2 early game kills. Normally Twitch is like even or behind. Like, it's not very common that Twitch is a hit. Here we get charmed by Seraphine, not too important. Polymorph goes in from Lulu. We kind of try to trade back. Seraphine gets really low, and Lulu ults me at the last second. Yeah, a little bit awkward because I was kind of trying to disengage already, and then the ult comes in from the Lulu, and I didn't really need it in a sense. Also, this Lulu, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this Lulu was actually the mid laner, but the support insisted that he couldn't play support, so insisted on swapping with somebody, so the mid laner swapped with him. And so this is my mid laner. But the Lulu basically, if you guys haven't noticed, essentially just spams her spells whenever they're up, right? She just W's and E's me whenever it's available, and also just uses Veil whenever it's available, right? She Veils when there's nothing to Veil, which is really strange. But you know, I'd rather have a Lulu that's spamming spells on me all the time than a Lulu that's... I've gotten baited by Lulu picks before, right? Sometimes I pick, you see a Lulu pick, then you pick like your Jinxes, your Twitches, or you know, your Zeris, or you know, those champions that pair very well with Lulu. And then the Lulu just either, number one, either they ditch you and then they go and buff their mid laner or their top laner, or they buff themselves and they just like they just buff themselves, which is really weird. So basically, sometimes you get baited by the fact that you're not buffed. So I think in this case, since she's buffing me, I'm not gonna complain all that much. So here I'm max range attacking the jungler, who's obviously the most important person here. Seraphine hits me, I'm gonna cleanse and then just get rid of the Seraphine. Here I go into stealth and then I flash over to try to finish the Jhin. Unfortunately, Jhin has 4 shots, so he's able to finish me off instead. Lulu ends up trading back onto the Jhin, but the ignite of the Riven is going to take Lulu out. Ziggs is now 1 HP, trying to max range help, but Riven flashes forward, kills him, but is going to fall to Camille eventually. Huge team fight, 4-for-4 trade in the grand scheme of things. Only Camille and Victor are left. Camille though walks straight into Victor, and Victor's damage walks straight into the stun, gets hit by basically everything, finally hits Victor with the hookshot wall dive, tries to get fancy with the flash, but Victor's ult just a little bit too big, and Camille ends up basically just dying a pretty horrible death. I think if in the initial part where Victor was going for the free, if she just did the hookshot wall dive onto him immediately, I think Camille actually wins this. But because she got trapped by the Victor and Victor got off so much free damage, Victor ends up winning. Now here I'm trying to just attack the Warwick who's doing the dragon. Warwick secures the dragon, has to Hex Flash out of the pit. Victor still here, and I end up just getting a free shutdown just off of attacking the Victor while he was just walking into towards me. I'm not sure why he ended up so overextended, but yeah, she ended up walking towards me. I ended up picking up a free kill, which is always appreciated. So now I'm 5-1-1 with Runans and Terminus completed. We're almost getting to that 3-item kind of spike. And in fact, already right now, if you take a look at the goal, I have 9.5k gold, by far the most gold on my team. Slightly ahead of the Jin, but still 1k gold behind the Victor. So, but either which way, we're in a very, very decent spot in the game. It's very rare you have a Twitch game where you're very, very fed. Normally, I find myself having to come back into the game. So here I'm just waiting behind the wall to see if a fight breaks out, because I want them to not know that I'm here, right? So here I was thinking a fight is going to happen, so I actually stealth in, but ends up nothing actually ends up happening, and everybody on my team is kind of just walking around, right? Baron is up, but we can't really start Baron because we're not really far ahead or anything like that. So we're not trying to force the mid tower, but we're against a Jin who has very strong wave clearance, so he just clears the wave instantly. I want to go to top lane to pick up the farm. I'm pinging it, but the issue is Baron is up. I don't want to show on the top wave opposite of Baron, because this is a green light for the enemy team to start Baron. So it's very awkward, because I kind of need farm, but I can't go top lane to farm. So I'm going to instead go into the jungle to farm instead. Mundo, by the way, who's our jungler, has been doing a horrible job of farming. His jungle camps are consistently all up. So it's very... I mean, I'm not sure why he's not farming, but his camps are always all up. So now I'm once again pinging. I want to go top lane. But the issue is Mundo is following me. Now this is horrible. Because if me, Mundo, and Lulu show on the wave, which is what's happening here, almost happened here, they can just start Baron. Because, yeah, we're going to be on the wrong side of the map. So here, the Warwick, Jin, and Victor are super overextended. We're trying to get into an insane flank position here. If I had ghost here, this would have been insane. But here I finally get into position, but I get slowed by Jin's traps. I try to flash forward to get the Victor or the Warwick, but are both 1 HP, bleeding from the poison, but not dying, which is very unfortunate. So I end up blowing flash for what ended up being not anything, which is really, really unfortunate. Now I'm very close to getting my Blade of the Rune King, so since everybody else is recalling, but I really want a little bit of farm, Mundo ends up doing his Brit buff. I'm going to bot lane to get the farm, and I just need this wave and these Krugs, and it's going to be enough, right? So here, I'm going for the Krugs, but as I start the Krugs, Warwick ults over the wall, kills Mundo, and I'm running away because I'm thinking he's going to come for me next because he saw me there. But he ends up not actually coming from me anyway, and then Ziggs here dies to the Victor, and then Riven, I realize that, oh man, I'm in trouble, and I get hit by the Seraphine. I'll get CC'd, and I die to Riven while trying to get my Bork goal. I mean, I did get it eventually from that wave right before I died, but I end up basically dying due to overstaying on the map because I needed goal for Bork. Guess I should have just recalled instead, but we do get the item completion, so this finally puts me at the 3-item power spike that I've been talking about all game, which is the point you want to get to with Twitch, and honestly a lot of ADCs as well. So now with my 3-item power spike and with Lulu, I should be in prime position to carry the game. So far, I think the biggest threat to me is Riven. Warwick hasn't really done anything to me for the most part, and honestly Victor is a pretty big threat with his just pure damage, and so is Jin, but honestly they haven't really been killing me very much either. I've mostly been actually dying to the Riven. I mean, the first death was from the Jin, I guess, but I think Riven is honestly the biggest threat to me at the moment because she can easily get on top of me and kill me, whereas for the rest of them it's not so easy. So here, again, I've been trying to go on this flank, like with the stealth, but unfortunately, I can't quite reach. Eventually, I reach the area, I pop everything, I'm blasting the Jin, Jin ends up going down, Lulu gives me everything, I kill the Victor over the wall, but unfortunately you can see Riven is now running me down again. I can't really escape and I end up dying to the Riven. However, I do get the two like fed people on their team, which is Jin and Victor, the two carries, but I mean at this point, everyone on the team is kind of getting fed. Like Warwick is fed as well, and Seraphine and Riven all have over 10k gold, which is, can't say the same for my team except for myself and Ziggs. So here Riven trying to get something done. I'm sorry, Camille trying to get something done but gets taken out by Riven. My whole team gets aced and Riven and Warwick are left alive, which is not really the best situation. Now they're gonna go for the dragon. It's gonna be a free dragon for them. Mundo now just respawning. And Mundo goes in to contest the dragon at the last minute, which Warwick is already doing. Gives the Warwick a leash, I guess, goes in and smites, giving him another leash, and Warwick simply smites and picks up the dragon. That was not even close in terms of that smite from Mundo. I thought maybe Warwick panic smited, but that was Mundo panic smiting. So here the enemy team is getting kind of caught out, especially the Seraphines. I'm popping the ulti, I'm just blasting them down. Here Riven's coming in. I have to flash away from the Riven, so I end up flashing the wall onto the Jhin and going for the Victor. Now honestly, I didn't plan for this to be a very aggressive play. I was just trying to get the Seraphine, but because Riven showed up, I had to flash anyway. If I flash back, I thought I would die anyway, so I ended up flashing the wall just to go trade 1-for-1 with the Jhin, but I ended up getting the Victor as well, which was a big surprise to me. And Riven ends up not pursuing me, of course, because she'd rather just go for the 3 people on my team rather than me. So I ended up getting 3 kills and surviving. So now it's myself and Mundo trying to defend the base while Camille is split pushing. The objective bounties are up just because of how behind my team is. Pretty much on my team, I'm the only person who's like even comparable to the enemy team. I mean, you have Warwick and Victor at 14k gold, and I'm just reaching there like only just. Right, like they are really far ahead. Objective bounty gets picked up by the minions, and in this case I'm gonna go for the Wit's End as a defensive item because there is a Victor on the enemy team who is incredibly fed and is doing a lot of damage. So here Jhin is really overextended. I'm going in and I'm just gonna blast him into next week. I'm not gonna pop my ult because I don't need it to kill him, and I'm able to take him out right before Elder Dragon spawns. So now the enemy team have a huge numbers disadvantage for the Elder Dragon, and they decide to make the smart play. You can see Riven is actually taking out the ward on Baron, and I'm thinking they're actually doing Baron. So here we're going to leave the 2 of them to deal with the Elder Dragon. We're going to immediately rotate to Baron. Here I stealth before I reach the wave so they can't see me coming. And here I'm running, trying to make it here. I get Charm, I pop the Cleanse, and now you can see I blast 3 people, immediately die just to Elder buff. And here I don't know why I'm recalling here when Baron is still up, but I realize, and Baron gets taken anyway, and then I'm going to complete my recall, go back to base, complete my Wit's End, and here I'm going to build towards the Bloodthirster. And now with both Elder and Baron, now we're in a position where we could win the game. I see a huge top wave, I'm going to go top to just push that one out. Camille and Ziggs are pushing out our lanes. I mean, Camille's wasting time farming the jungle, right? One of the things you don't want to do when you have Baron is to waste time farming jungle, because it means you're not utilizing the Baron buff very well. Unless your whole team is resetting and you have nothing else to do, then maybe you can go farm jungle, but otherwise you should not be farming the jungle. You should be busy, you know, dealing with you know, the waves, dealing with the towers, like what I'm doing here. So I take out 1 tower, and now at this point the enemy team is all respawning, so I don't want to be alone by myself in the side lane, so I'm gonna go down and join my team while someone has to deal with the wave. Now here Warwick tries to go in on me, but I insane reaction QSS to prevent his ult, and then I just straight up kill him. And then now with the Warwick down, one of the biggest threats are out of the game. I'm just going to take him out, and then we're going to take out the bit lane tower, and then we're going to move on to the next tower. So I honestly think this is the game-winning push right here. With Elder and Baron, there's not a lot enemy can do. I have a lot of damage, and I'm just blasting everybody into next week, and down goes everybody. We get another triple kill, and now we're just going to end the game. Huge carry job from the Twitch pick here, but I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.